Hello, this is Connie with the Piano University for Kids. This video is a demonstration or tutorial for the technique exercises. In our studio, it's called Technique Chart 1, Level A. I don't know how well you can read that, but it's the red sheet, it's Chart 1, and it's Level A. We'll go through arpeggios, 5-finger patterns, cadences, diatonic triads, and transposition. Okay, you will need a metronome. All our technique is done with a metronome. Apps are free to download, so they're easy to get. All right, for arpeggios, an arpeggio is just a broken chord. A chord is 3 notes. And you just play bottom, middle, top, one at a time for an arpeggio. We're going to do 2 octaves. That means the left hand and the right hand, and then we're going to cross over and come back down. That's ascending and descending. Metronome is at 80 with 1 note per click. Now, when you practice your technique, I want you to practice each exercise 3 times. Oh, and excuse the jets flying over. We're near an Air Force base. We're going to do the key of F, the key of C, and the key of G. I want you to do F 3 times, C 3 times, and G 3 times. They're quick. They only take like 10 seconds each, so that's not a long time. It's not going to be a lot of work. But you've got to really focus on doing technique. Because it's not good enough to just go through your technique exercise and do it well one time and you can pass it off. Because it's like lifting weights at the gym. You're training these little muscles inside your hands to have the right form and the right technique on the piano. So you can't just go to the gym, lift one weight and think, oh, that was perfect, now I'm done. You have to do it over and over and over and over to train those muscles. That's what we're doing. Okay, the things that I want you to watch is this arch right here on the top of your hand. Really, we want this arch underneath to be supported. But the way you know if it's supported or not is if your knuckles are kind of popping up on the top of your hand. That shows that you have a strong supported arch. Now, you're not always going to play like this. It's not an extreme thing, but you want to make those knuckles pop up. If it's sunken, see how the knuckles would show like backwards. So you can actually see if those knuckles are popped up. You want your hand to look like the letter C from the side. And another thing, when you play on this joint right here, don't let that collapse. That's a very weak playing right there. We want to keep it up strong, so you're playing right on the tip of your finger and keep this joint supported on every single finger. So you're going to have to be watching your hands and make sure that those joints are supported. Okay? So as you play it 3 times, I want you to think of something you can do better each time. If you can't think of anything, call me. I will give you some things that you could work on to do better each time. Okay? Here's my metronome. It's just an app on the tablet. It's set at 80. So the arpeggios will start on the key of F. Now, we're going to start with the lowest finger on each hand on F. Then we lay out our fingers on the rest of the keys. And let's start arpeggios. Ready, and. Three times. Then we move to C. Good. You hear how every note is exactly with a click on the metronome. Now G. Okay, that's the arpeggios. For the 5-finger pattern, we're going to use all 5 fingers in our hand, up and back down. And we start on the lowest finger of each hand on the key note. So we will start on F. Now watch, in the key of F there is a B flat. So when we get to this B right here, you don't play B, you play B flat instead. So you got to watch for that. Watch also that your arch is supported and this joint here is supported. The metronome will be playing at 80. We want 1 note for every click on the metronome. And we'll do hands together at the same time. Ready, and. 3 times. Then C. times, getting better each time. Then G. Okay, now for the cadences, a cadence is a series of chords put together that usually draws the song to a finish. So a cadence would be like a 1, 4, 5, 7, 1. Those Roman numerals are the scale degrees in the scale. We will do the 1, the 4, and the 5, 7, since those are kind of the most important triads in any scale. They're called the primary triads. What we're going to do for this first technique chart is an open position. So instead of playing all 3 notes, we're just going to play the top and bottom note of each chord. So it'll be 1. Now when you move to a 4 chord, the bottom note stays the same. The top note just moves up a whole step. So here's 1, 4. Now to move to the 5-7 chord, this moves back down a whole step to where it was, and the bottom note moves down a half step. Then go back to 1, and the bottom note just moves back up a half step. So with both hands together and the metronome, this is what it sounds like. Minus the jets. Okay, we're giving you 2 clicks of the metronome for every note. So you play, and then you have time to move your hands. Ready? And. Make sure you get it perfect, but then 3 times, getting better each time. Joint supported. Now we'll move to the key of C. Ready, and. Then the key of G. Now the key of G has an F sharp, so when we go down to that 5-7, we're going to go down to a black key. Now let me show you something about playing a black key, especially if it's on a thumb. Don't twist your hand to reach up to play the black key and back. That would look like this. Okay, we don't want twisting the wrist back and forth. Play the chord you were on and just slide these fingers up into the black keys, in between the black keys. And then you'll be right in the right position to play it, and then slide back out when you're done playing it. So here's the cadence in the key of G. Okay, diatonic triads. I'll explain this in the key of C. We'll start with C just because there's no sharps and no flats, so that's the simplest to explain. We're going to play a triad with our thumb, or the bottom note, bottom finger of each hand, starting on each scale degree. So see, the scale of C is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and back down. Well, we're going to play a triad. As our thumb moves up to each note, we're going to play a full triad on each one of those notes and back down. Now the trick is we have to include all the sharps and flats that belong with that key, which is why we're starting on C, because there's no sharps and flats to worry about. We're going to do hands alone first, and I'll show you on C. Now the metronome is going to be at 80, but you have a click to play and then a click to think and move. So there's 2 clicks for every time you have to play. Here we go on C. And come back down. Okay, now we'll try it on F. Now in F, there is a B flat, so every time you hit a B flat, sometimes it'll be on the top, sometimes in the middle, and sometimes on the bottom. You've got to remember that that B is going to be a flat. And remember, you slide up into the keys. Try not to twist around to get it. Ready, and. Okay, in the key of G. In the key of G, there's an F sharp. So every F is played as an F sharp. No twisting. We do some of that later, but for this exercise, the way we're learning it, no twisting. Slide up into the keys back and forth like this. Ready, and. All right. You'll do it with the right hand 3 times and the left hand 3 times. All right, for transposing, we're going to take a simple melody and we're going to play it in the key of F and the key of C and the key of G. We've practiced the chords in those keys. We've practiced the 5 finger patterns in those keys. So this part is putting a little song in that key. We were talking about transposing. It's right here on the back. These are the scale degrees, and this is the 1 chord. So we will start with the lowest finger on the key note. And if we're in F, the key note is F. So this lowest finger of our left hand will be on F. And then the 1 chord is just the triad, 1, 3, and 5. Now we'll play the melody while playing that 1 chord in the left hand. And the 1 chord is placed under the note that it's played with. Remembering if you're in the key of F, there's a B flat. Now, when you get that really comfortable and your joints are all supported, I want you to take the left hand and make a pattern with it so you're not just holding that chord for a full 4 counts. You can play the bottom notes for 2 counts and then the top 2 together, or you could play 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Make a different pattern, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are grouped though in about 4 counts. So there's about 4 counts for every measure. So your pattern has to include 4 counts. So it could be something like this. I usually play a F at the end just to finish it off. All right, so have fun with that transposition piece. Be sure you're checking for your joint support. Both of these joints need to be supported, and playing your pieces or each exercise 3 times through, getting better each time. All right, happy practicing.